Deontay, are you on?
I am. Can you see me?
Nope. I just see your name.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm at a middle school basketball game, so I apologize for the noise. Um, so I think the big thing that I want to do this year, I need as many homeowners associations, community groups to reach out to me, and I'll put my email in the chat. But I need more people to sponsor community cleanups. NDOT, we will supply bags, the vests. We'll even put signs out that says litter crews on the in the area. But we need more participation. So if you're willing to host, I will be there. I need more people to turn out this year. I've heard a lot of the complaints as far as some of the main roads, and when I see them, I'm looking to see if a ticket has been put out in the hub. If not, I'm putting a ticket in myself, and I encourage people via social media to do so as well. And I think it really takes community for us to get these things going in the right direction. And I can't say it enough. If you say, hey, Deontay, I want to schedule cleanup on this date, I'll be there with the supplies. I just need I need to spread the word. Our first boat cleanup, I would like to do it third weekend in March. And I have 2 sites that we're thinking about using. We're just working on logistics. It'll be great to have it in that area where the Publix is, just because it's a big issue right now with the bulk item dumping, and it's just a lot of waste in that area. So I'll put my email in that group chat. Please reach out to me. Share it. Deontay is looking for communities to clean up. That's all I have for you, Councilman Lee.
Okay. Did anybody have any questions or anything for him?
I have one if I could.
Please.
Hey, Deontay, it's Twana. I wonder, would it be possible to have one of the locations over at Cane Ridge Community Club? That's going to be the opposite side of District 33, but there's a lot of stuff that happens up and down Cane Ridge Road too. So if you don't have a location, I wonder if we could consider that.
Well, Tawana, that's a great idea, and I'm willing to do that. My intention is that we spread it around. I know, last year, we used two sites continuously, Compton's and the Hamilton Church location. But if we can get multiple areas throughout the districts, maybe we can spread the love. I have your number, and we can, after this, I'll reach out to you and we can partner up, and I'm willing to do that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so very much, Mr. B. Commissioner.
Absolutely.
Enjoy your game. Okay, so I am going to turn it over, and I'm going to just take it. Rosie did me up a little list of the participants that we have. So I'm just going to go down there. I do have the police and the commander first. Then I have Metro Water. I saw Mr. Honeysuckle. Ms. Peoples on here as well. And then we have codes. And when you go, whoever goes first, I'm going to let you introduce the rest of your people. Then we have codes, and then we have NDOT, and then we have we go last. So if I could turn it over to the commander now.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you having me. My name's Kevin Lovell. I'm the new commander at South Precinct, but I'm not new to Nashville. I was born and raised in Nashville. I grew up in South Nashville in the Woodbine area. Graduated from Glencliff High School in 1992. And so I started with the police department in Nashville in 2001. And so coming back to South as a precinct commander has been a very big honor for me. It's a goal that I've had for a long time. So I'm grateful to have this opportunity to serve the South Nashville community in a bigger way. And so with that, I'm filling big shoes from Deputy Chief Stevens, who left to be deputy chief. So I'm trying to continue the things that he started and trying to do some new things with some different ideas. And so what we're focused on in South is our community engagement, how we better communicate, better work with, and better serve those in the community, especially those that are seeing high levels of crime or high levels of things that are disturbing, trash that the beauty commissioner spoke of, and things like that. So when he does his community cleanups, that's something that the police department at South, that's something we want to be involved in, bring officers out to help pick up the communities, be seen in the communities, and show that we do care how not only it looks, but how it affects everyone in that community and how we can help make it better. That's what we do as a police department. Not only just focused on community service, but we're also looking at how we can better reduce response times from officers. I've been looking at response times across the South Precinct, and I've seen the response times for critical calls are really low, and I'm happy about that. That the critical calls, the calls that someone's being assaulted, someone's being shot at, or anything like that, something that's life-threatening or very, very dangerous, those calls are being answered really quickly. But I want to decrease the response times for the calls that people just call about that they need services, or they need to talk to a police officer about something that they've seen, something that's happened to them in the neighborhood. They saw a suspicious person or they saw a suspicious vehicle. I think we need to increase how we approach those calls for service too, because they're just as important. And I hear a lot from the community, and I hear a lot of our voice messages where people are sitting 1, 2, 3 hours waiting on a police officer to get there for maybe a traffic crash or to take a report of something that was stolen. And that's not acceptable. I think we can do better, and I think I can do better as a commander to spread out those resources to where we get to people in a timely manner and get them back to their lives. Crime. I know crime is a big issue in South. I'd like to say this year that crime, we're doing really well. I was looking at the numbers. I'm gonna pull up my screen here just to look at the numbers and kind of tell you where I'm looking at. So our totals here in South, all the major crimes, the personal crimes, robberies, things like that, are all down from this time last week. I'm sorry, from this time last year in the same week. So we're trending pretty good. We're getting able to assign more people to different areas. We're looking at our precision policing approach, not just a shotgun blast of officers here and there. We're looking at where crimes are occurring, where the most calls are coming in, and we're assigning officers to help out in those areas and do extra patrols, more community contacts, more business checks. We're using more units like K9 at night to help with business checks and go around during the nighttime and make sure that businesses haven't been broke into. Our clearance rates are really good. I know I saw Slim and Husky restaurant on the news the other morning about 4 break-ins that they'd had. And so I'm happy to say that with the assistance of the manager video, we were able to identify the person that broke into Slim and Husky those 4 times. We've got warrants on that person. And so it was a prior employee who was disgruntled that did that. So we were able to get warrants on that person. Hopefully we'll get him picked up soon, and that will clear that up. And just those things are working together with the business owners, getting our detectives videos and getting them out to the scenes quickly to see what's going on and get on that investigation very quickly is really helping us to identify problem people and problem places. And so we've had several people that have been arrested. We had a few burglaries of businesses along Harding Place. Quick response by officers the other night apprehended a person breaking a window and stealing lottery tickets. And that person has been a problem person in South for a while. He's on our radar. We know him. We put him in jail, and we're going to get more warrants on him for other break-ins that he did similarly in the Cane Ridge area. So that's where we're working. We're working on better communication with the communities. Ag assaults, we're seeing an issue all over the county with aggravated assaults. And aggravated assaults, what we're seeing is that people have a hard time managing conflict. So little arguments, little spats are really turning into someone either pulling a pistol or someone firing shots. And so we're looking at department wide, we're looking at putting out some information about conflict resolution, and hopefully that will be put out. And I'm working with and reaching out to any of the community groups in South Nashville that have Facebook pages or community pages and things like that we can coordinate with and put that out with them. And also, if they want to share something with us, we can put that out and work together to bring awareness to there are better ways for conflict resolution than going straight to some type of violence. We need to be able to communicate better as a society anyway. I think we've lost a lot of the communication skills that we had when I was younger. We're all on telephones or cell phones. We're looking at this, looking at that, and we've lost the ability to talk. And I think we need to get back to that. And I hope that with the things that we're pushing out, with the information we're pushing out on conflict resolution, on tips about safety, tips about what you can look for in your community that may help us to be able to solve some of the things that are going on in your community will really pay off. And we're open to that communication. We're open to that relationship. And I hope that we can get a lot of response from that. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
One question about what area do you get the most calls from? And then I just wanted to also bring up, Commander Stevens was working with us on a lot of the racing problems we've had in this area. And so if you talk about how that is going, and hopefully y'all will keep that up as well.
Yes. So the racing issue, we work with traffic, and on the weekends, they have a dedicated group of officers that when we have good intel on like the major racing meetups, they will work and coordinate with THP. And we've been stopping those people, arresting those people, citing those people. And when we possibly can, seizing their vehicles to try to stop that. I know we get a lot of calls about people speeding in neighborhoods, people racing up and down streets. We try to approach that in a way that if I have an officer working in that zone, I let them know what's going on in that area, what's going on that street. But I also reach out to the traffic division where we can utilize the motor officers that will come, and we give them specific streets that they work that we're having problems on. They will come and sit on those streets and do traffic enforcement because they're not answering other calls for service. That is their sole job, just to do traffic enforcement. And they do a great job helping us. I've sent them 10, 15, 20 locations that we get calls for, people racing up and down the street, Piccadilly Road, Murfreesboro Road. And so that's how we're approaching the traffic issue. I hope that a lot of neighborhoods, I'm looking at seeing what we can do about the speed bumps or the speed humps in the neighborhoods, and maybe see if we can get more of those. I think they do serve a great deal of success in slowing people down. And then you asked about where we get the most calls for service. Here lately, it's been the same few areas: the Murfreesboro Road, Bell Road corridor between Hickory Hollow and Murfreesboro Road. All those apartment complexes out there. We get a lot of theft from motor vehicles where people will break into a car. And the common theme in those is people are leaving in plain sight laptops, cell phones. Sometimes they leave cash in plain sight. They'll leave purses. And the most troubling aspect of that is they're leaving guns in their vehicles. And so we've had in South already this year, we've had 8 guns stolen from cars. And so the chief has made a group called the Vehicular Crimes Group that will address when cars are broken into and a gun is stolen. Those detectives will respond and start the investigation immediately. And so we're trying to cut down on the number of guns stolen in cars. And the best way we can do that is to push out information. It used to be called Park Smart. Don't leave anything in plain view, lock your doors, take your keys, all that stuff. And we're still pushing that. And I hope that when we start getting these community groups online with us, that we can get that information out more. And I have seen a trend here lately where last week there was 11 vehicles broken into, and 2 or 3 of them, nothing was stolen. So nothing was taken. So people are starting to get our message about please remove your things or put them where they can't be seen or not attractive. And so the second area that we have, of course, is the Harding Place, I-24, Noblesville Road corridor. We have a lot of foot traffic in that area. We have a lot of businesses in that area. And so we're just focused on just being present, being seen. I know with 95 Wallace, NDOT, NES, and the other groups did an amazing job just updating the infrastructure there with the lights. It's well lit. They're not seeing the crimes occur in that area anymore. I ran the numbers, and they went from getting 20 to 30 calls a week to 2 or 3 calls a week now. And I think that infrastructure that we all talked about, those street lights, those sidewalks, things like that help limit the limit how businesses may be vulnerable to would-be criminals or opportunistic criminals come by. So those are the 2 high areas that we have, and so we're focused on both of those with different techniques and different policing strategies.
Okay, thank you so very much, Commander. We're hearing somebody. I think they forgot their mic.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Cheryl.
I just wanted to ask him about the do they have mental evaluation for their officer, either quarterly or annual, or how do they deal with stress that they're dealing with in the community and stuff that's going on? Do they have anything?
Yes, absolutely. So when officers are hired, of course, they go through a mental evaluation process. And then we also have behavioral health services that are open to any officer. They're completely open to them to come anytime they want to. They can talk about anything they need to talk about, and it's private and it's confidential. We do have wellness check-ins once a year. So an officer will call behavioral health, and they will talk to a counselor. And if just checking in with them once a year gives them the opportunity to talk with a counselor if they have any issues, to work through that. We do encourage officers to, if they're feeling like something's wrong, or they're feeling like they're not able to cope with some of the things that they're seeing, we do encourage them to go to behavioral health services for some assistance. If it's something that's serious, like a critical incident, we do have critical incident debriefs with behavioral health services. And so they will come to the precinct, or they'll come to a roll call, and they'll talk to the officers that were involved in that critical incident, and be able to, kind of evaluate and kind of just be there for support. And so we've gotten some great feedback with that. Officers feel open to doing that, and there's nothing, there's nothing that would prohibit them from going to that freely. And so we've got some good feedback on that.
Now, I'm sorry.
Hey, Commander.
Hi, Tawana.
Welcome.
How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I wanted to pass along something, and I've encouraged these 3 citizens to reach out, but I don't want to take it for granted that they have. We still, in the edges of the county, are having trouble with people driving around at night and firing shots. Of course, they're hitting the traffic signs. They're shooting at those silver NES or cable boxes that are on some of the utility poles. And they just make a grand circle out in the country road area. They have to be going into Williamson County and coming back out based on some of the paths. But in case they're not getting reported, you tell everybody, call 862-8600. I've explained the importance of calling even if they don't have much information, so that patterns can be scene. And they did have a little bit of information about what kind of vehicle they're hearing and stuff. It's one of the little cars. But if you could just make sure that's on the radar for whoever's on the midnight shift, it's going to be Old Hickory Boulevard, Whittemore Lane, Burkett Road, Cane Ridge Road, Old Franklin Road, Preston Road, and Pettus Road is kind of the big circle. And like I said, I think they're also going into Williamson County and coming back in. So it's the outlying edges of 33, and then across the street in 31 is the ones that I know about. We would
Okay.
appreciate that.
Yeah, and so we've also gotten some information about people going into parks and practice firing their weapons before they may commit another crime. So with that information, when we get a call about someone shots fired in a park, I will send an officer out to see if we can collect the shell casings, and those can be analyzed, and we can match them with any other crimes. Our NIBIN unit does a great job matching and coordinating and connecting these shell casings to other crimes, and so we can kind of narrow down and hopefully get those people into custody.
Thank you so very much. We're going to now move on to the water department. I see Mr. Honeysucker. We've got Metro Water beside you, but you do so many more things in your department. So if you will explain some of the many things you do, and then I know a lot of people have had questions about the trash and all of that too. So I'm going to turn it over to your department now.
All right, thank you so much. I'll make it very brief. John Honeysucker, Assistant Director of Waste Services, still under the Metro Water umbrella, and Council Liaison for the Water Department also. I always encourage people with the trash, if there's ever issues, anything like that, please contact us through the hub and also through the council lady. One thing that we truly believe in is making sure that the trash gets picked up by any means necessary, whether it be getting people out there on Saturday, Sunday, or myself. We will make it happen. I do want to remind people, January the 30th, we're going to go start every other week recycle. So please be patient with us for the first 30 days or so as we make our way through this transition. There will be some hiccups there. Go get this thing worked out. It'll start January the 30th. So please look at the website for for the new schedule for your every other week recycle. With the water, if you have any issues with the water department, any concerns, we do try to update the council lady when there are water line breaks within the community to make sure that she's aware of what's going on so she can put out notification on her social media. So please call us 862. Look, I forgot my water number. Let me look on it. On the back of my card, and my apologies, 862-4600, and report any water line breaks that you might have. So with that, always good to see the District 33 family. They always show me a bunch of love. I appreciate you all. Any questions for me?
You are the man, John Honeysucker.
Hey, John, what's going on, man?
Mr. John, I just I need to pass along a compliment, please. Maureen over at the Southeast Convenience Center. I was just there again today, and she has a new coworker with her whose name I don't have, but I just want to say those folks make it a joy to drop off some trash or recycling. They make it really, really easy, and we appreciate them, and just please pass our thanks along.
I most definitely will. She is a young lady that just got hired, and Maureen has been training her and doing a great job. So I really appreciate that. We're going to keep moving forward in a positive way. Thank you.
John?
Number that you gave for the water over in the chat too.
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
John, two questions, if I might.
Sure.
Number one, is the trash thing pretty well all caught up, and I don't see it in the news and so forth? Are we pretty well taken care of there?
We are. I always say we're back to status quo, Ed. Okay. Never say we're caught up, because there's always a hiccup there somewhere, but we're working to get past that status quo. But yes, sir, that we have actually a level playing field.
Second, I have a client who has a rental property, and whoever was in that rental property before the current tenant filled the recycling bin full of all sorts of construction stuff and pieces of wood, and there's a bunch of gravel in there. Obviously that can't be recycled. What does that client need to do to get rid of that stuff so that, number one, it gets rid of the stuff, and number two, that his tenant on that property can go ahead and start using the recycle bin the way it's supposed to be used?
Just report it into Hub as a contaminated cart, and we'll send
Mhm.
someone out there to address that. Because basically, what'll happen is it'll sit there because it's contaminated. Our recycle truck will come by, see that, keep moving. So they'll have to report that, and that's pretty much a special pickup that we'll have to send someone out to eliminate that.
So they don't need to put it on the back of a flatbed trailer and take it to Adams Drive or something like that. Y'all will take care of it.
No, we'll take care of that. In fact, I was out the previous week picking up contaminated carts because we had some misses out in the southeast. So I was going around picking up contaminated carts.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Questions, John? Thank you, sir. You know, I always appreciate you. Always appreciate you. So thank you so very much for what you do for our city. Codes now. I thought I saw Miss Bishop. Yes. So I'm going to turn it over to codes now.
Yes, my name is Monica Bishop. I'm Property Standards Chief. So I'm the supervisor over all of the inspectors that would be considered in South Nashville. So not just this district, but we cover Woodbine, Harding Place, Elysian Fields, Cane Ridge, Antioch, anything in the South. My team kind of presides over. So I'm I'm part of codes, but I'm Property Standards Division. So we're the ones that handle things like neighbors with inoperable vehicles, people storing garbage, junk, trash, and debris in their yard, junky neighbors, dilapidated houses, anything like that. Most of our complaints come across the hub, but you can still call. Some people prefer to call us over the phone. So we encourage you to use the hub because you get updated more directly, you know, via email updates. But if you still prefer to call, you can still reach us at 615-862-6590. And I'll put all this information in the chat, or you can email me directly if there's anything that you feel like you want to get addressed. The things that I most commonly see in the South, and really just pretty much everywhere, that Nashville is just a big city. We see a lot of people with just rundown vehicles, a lot of people that just aren't maintaining the properties. We see a lot of problems with rental properties in the area where people with landlords just don't really care to maintain the properties. We see all of those kinds of things. So, and we're not limited to enforcing that. We also enforce people that are doing building without permits. We see a lot of people adding additions, decks, porches, that kind of thing. We can address that as well. We also address zoning issues like overcrowding or illegal use, businesses not having their use and occupancy permits and anything like that. We're kind of like a catch-all. Councilmember Lee is always very good about reaching out and keeping up on things. But we are always here. If you feel like you're not getting anywhere, if you want the status on something, just feel free to email me directly if you'd like, and I can look into it for you. And I'll put my information in the chat.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So we have a lot of abandoned houses that's boarded up. Has anyone ever went inside to make sure that there's no bodies or things going on that shouldn't? I'm from Chicago, and I just saw a situation that happened that someone was kidnapped and was in an abandoned building, and because it's always abandoned and closed up, nobody knew, and this child was in there for years. And so I'm just concerned and wondering about that now.
Yeah, the best thing to do is if you have something like that, just always report it and we'll try to look. So we are also bound by trespassing laws. So if there's a vacant property, we're really not allowed to go in it, but we will certainly look around it and see what we can do. We typically don't like if we allow a building to sit abandoned or a home to sit abandoned, it's got to be boarded up properly. If something is not boarded up properly, like where squatters can come in, homeless people, we can try to track down the owner and send them a notice to go ahead and board that up. We don't do that as much as we used to in the past, just because the housing market here, in the real estate market here, there is no reason why you should just sit on property. Like if you don't want to maintain it or you don't want to keep it up, then you need to sell it. Because like I said, when the economy's bad, we can understand maybe people can't afford it, they can't sell it. We're kind of a little bit more allowing of the boarding up if it's done properly. But nowadays it's kind of like where if we feel like the house is dilapidated enough, we kind of pursue like a demolition order that will kind of force the owner to either repair it or tear it down. But if you get anything like that where you feel like something like that is going on, just give us a call or send it through the hub and we'll look at it. And then if we feel like police need to be involved, we have a pretty good relationship with them. Kind of all the metro agencies. I feel like I talk to Mr. Honeysucker a lot. I talk to the South Community Coordinator, Sergeant Islamovich, a lot. So if we feel like it's a police matter, then we will go ahead and refer it. The best thing I can say is that, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. If you're concerned about something, report it. Don't just sit there. Don't just not say anything, because if it's not me, then I can direct you to who it needs to be, who it needs to get to. Yes, ma'am.
Hey there, Sir Diane Allercon, I believe was her name, on the Southeast community meeting, talked about hiring some codes folks for weekends. Has that
Yes.
occurred yet? We just this
Okay,
past
so we do.
Sunday
So we
had
do have
construction occurring during the weekends.
Okay, so yeah, we do have inspectors that go out on weekends. We go right now, currently we have, they go about once a month. We don't have any staff that is dedicated to evening hours. That is something that is being looked at, and I believe Councilmember Stiles was talking about having a night crew. So I feel like probably eventually we will get to that. We don't have anything, no one that is on a set, no one that is on daily call in the evenings. What we will do is if you have a complaint that you feel like is a night issue, like construction noise or something like that, we'll create a complaint for it. And then we send out an inspector once to twice a month in the evening. But we don't have anybody that's their set shifts, but we are still addressing those as they come up.
Well, respectfully, sending somebody out later, I'm sure you understand, is useless, because the subcontractor or whoever it was, they don't even know who it was at that point. They're gone. I just want to say, from a community perspective, we look forward to having someone we can actually call on the weekends and get things enforced. Thank you.
No, if you do have something now though, and you feel like it's a weekend or a night, do call and let us know. Or if you do the hub, just put this is a night inspection or this is a weekend inspection, and we will get it assigned into that queue. Like I said, unfortunately, we don't have anybody that goes daily, but we do go once or twice a month.
Monica,
Yes.
Cheryl asked a question about problem properties, and her focus wasn't the nuisance aspect of it, it was the public safety aspect of it. If Cheryl is concerned about a specific house where bad stuff may be going on, I don't know if cooking meth is the same problem it was 10 years ago, but criminal activity or people using that as their beehive for all their bad stuff, or whatever's going on in there that's more than just a nuisance or an eyesore, and there's a concern about the police needing to get involved. Should Cheryl call the police, or should she call you to work with the police? Who carries the bigger stick, and who's going to be able to help Cheryl more faster?
Well, it kind of depends on what your problem is, or if it's, so from a code's vantage point, the only thing that I can do is look at the state of the structure. So a lot of the times when a structure is that bad, where you have drug activity and homeless people or whatever kind of riffraff kind of hanging around, if the structure is in bad enough shape, meaning that we deem that structurally it's in bad enough shape to move forward with the demolition. So for example, to give you what I mean, there's when your property gets assessed, your structure has a value and your land has a value. Okay, we don't look at the land value. So say if you have a home and the structure is worth $50,000, if codes feels like there's $25,000 worth of damage that to bring the house up to basic code, then I can pursue what's called a demolition, and so we can require the owner to come in and report to a hearing. So if something is that bad, reach out to codes. If we see some other issues, or if someone sees other issues, I would definitely recommend going to police. But even in cases where people have recommended, have sent us out there, if we see something that we feel like the police needs to get involved with, we don't hesitate. It's kind of like, it's not a bad idea to approach things from both angles to really get that taken care of.
Thank you.
So some of it is not dilapidated housing and bad houses. It's like it's a house that's sitting on, I think it's Mount View and is it Hamilton or Hop, one of them, and it's for sale. And it's been there for years. But now the front door is look like it's been kicked open. And when I drive past, sometimes it's at night, sometimes it's at day, and that door is still open. So I don't know, and it's a lot of them houses are just boarded up, and then like in the basement part, something is open, and it's something could be going on inside, and those are my concerns, and that's what I was asking for.
So yeah, if a house is vacant, and it's not like on the market to be rented or sold like fairly recently, like if someone just leaves a house doing nothing, they're supposed to board and secure it, meaning they're supposed to have boards cut to fit each window. The doors have to be completely secured and locked. There needs to be no broken windows. So all of those things, if you see an address you want us to look at, just let us know, because it's not supposed to be sitting there vacant and unsecured. That's the main thing for an extended period amount of time. Now, if somebody's renting a house and then they're in between tenants for a couple of weeks, that's one thing. I'm talking about when a house sits for an extended amount of time and there's nobody in it. It has to be completely secured. It can't have broken windows. It can't have back doors kicked open. It can't have basement, doorways missing. So just if you see something like that, just give us a call or report it to the hub, and we will definitely take a look.
I will probably be reaching out to you, Monica. I have gotten several calls on an area, Twin Oaks Lane, and
Okay.
about businesses going on in a residential area. And
Okay.
one of the gentlemen that called me said he knows that he has turned it in before, and codes told him that they couldn't do anything about it. Is there
Okay.
something, if a commercial stuff is running in a residential area, that's not supposed to happen, and that's what y'all are supposed to come and check on, correct? Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of times it depends on the kind of business and what they're doing. So we do have a home occupation permit that you are allowed to get under certain parameters. So it just kind of depends. Like we have a lot of, this is a different day and age. So a lot, the one, and I don't remember if this is on Twin Oaks, we have somebody calling in. There's somebody in an apartment complex that apparently has a band and they're live streaming. Was this the one?
This is,
Okay.
there's another structure on it that they're doing because they can hear, I don't know, saws or whatever they're doing. So there's actually something, and then there are a lot of different cars parked on there. So I rode
Just let me know.
at night. So I'll get it to you.
Okay, please do. And yeah, we can put it on night inspections too, if we need to.
So if you all, any of you all are dealing with anything like that, then Codes is the one to go ahead and give it to them instead of just figuring nothing will happen. Just go ahead and give it to them.
How do you get
Hey,
a home occupation permit?
I'm sorry?
How do you get a home occupation permit?
So you have to come. So there's a lot of parameters on the home occupation permit. So there's a cap on customer visits. There's a cap on, you can't have commercial vehicles at the house. There's a cap on the number of employees that can be there. There's a lot of businesses that would never be able to get a home occupation business. Some of the things that we do allow home occupation for within parameters is hairstylists or barbers, but again, they can't exceed a certain number of customer visits. We would allow like something like a landscaper or somebody that makes like custom furniture. But again, all of the activity has to be, so they can't, if they have large commercial equipment, they cannot do that. It has to be stored in a garage. Okay. With like someone that does custom furniture or something like that, any kind of sawing or anything like that has to be done inside in like a workshop area. They can't do it outside. They can't have big commercial deliveries of things other than like an Amazon truck would be acceptable. The UPS or FedEx would be acceptable. They can't have like mass trucks coming to drop tons of supplies all the time. That is not acceptable. And so just it kind of depends on what it is. We wouldn't allow a home occupation for anything like a restaurant. We wouldn't allow a home occupation for anything where you have constant customers coming in and out all day long. You couldn't open like a retail boutique in your house because you would have customers coming in all day long. So it just kind of depends on what it is. And you have certain guidelines that you have to fill. So if you feel like you have something that where you would need a business. No, so now let me start by saying, if you do not have customer visits to your home at all, you do not require a home occupation permit. So say if you're a real estate agent, or say if you have some kind of like an Etsy business where people never come, it's all online and you ship out, those things would not require a home occupation permit.
One more thing, I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
No, you're fine.
Look, so I was told that if you wanted to do like a home daycare with 5 kids or 5 to 8, then you can't have it in a cul-de-sac anymore, and you have to tear up your driveway that's in a cul-de-sac and put your driveway in the front of the house to change your street address and all of that.
So those may actually be so we do allow home daycare system like, but we don't have those don't sound like our rules. They may be state regulations. I know sometimes the state has certain parameters on the home daycares, and we have parameters on them as well, like as far as how many kids can be in them. If you have more than 4 kids, then we consider you a licensed daycare. You have to be licensed from the state for Metro codes to allow you to get the home occupation permit. But those parameters that you're speaking of, I haven't heard of those. So I'm thinking maybe they may be state regulations for the daycare, off of the daycare end.
Time that we have these type of meetings and we have a particular division that you want to hear more from, let me know, because we can have a meeting just with a particular division or two, if that will help things. If you all have questions that you want to do that on.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
and Councilmember Lee, I see somebody that just asked me a question about the abandoned cars on the roads. So let me kind of clarify that. So Metro codes used to be able to tag abandoned vehicles that were in the road. We can still tag the vehicles, but we used to have a vendor that would remove them and crush them. So when Metro codes had a vehicle towed from the right of way, they were not impounded like the police do. They were crushed, they were removed and crushed. So we no longer, the vendor that we used to utilize for that, they no longer wanted to, they let their contract end because they didn't feel like it was cost effective to do it for Metro. So we are currently looking for another vendor to haul cars off. So we can tag them as a courtesy, but right now we cannot remove them or impound them. So I just wanted to let people know. I still believe that the police can do it, but I understand that sometimes, they've got a lot on their plate and it might take them a while to get to that. But I hope that answers your question.
John?
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady. Yes, in the future, it'd be really helpful if we could get somebody from the Department of Codes Administration that is supposed to oversee the building standards of things like specific plans that are being created in our communities, so we can talk about that. Because at the early point in your tenure in 2019, it was reported back to the public that Codes Administration didn't monitor specific plans. So it'd be really interesting to understand where they are today on that. I appreciate the Codes Administration for being a part of this today, and certainly look forward to talking more in the future. Thank you.
Let me know too, John, that specifically, and then I can set up a meeting for just them to come talk to us as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. I'm going to turn it over to NDOT now. We've got the director on, and I think Director Diana, do you have also, is there a Mr. Freeze with you?
I do. Our chief
Oh,
engineer
okay.
is with us as well. So thank you, council member.
Thank you.
So let me just start with the traffic lights, since you raised that right off the bat. So unfortunately, I hate to say this, but you know, we did start construction and then we had to stop, and that's because we have not gotten the signal heads in. We are having what they call a supply chain issue on getting signal heads in. However, some good news is that they have been shipped. So we are anticipating that they will be delivered sometime toward the end of next week or the first week in February. As soon as they're here, we have the contractor ready to go. He'll get them up, he'll get them installed, and then within a week after that, we'll actually get them up and operating. So we have this as on our radar, we're ready to go, but we did get a little bit behind because of a supply chain issue, but it is very much on the horizon and around the corner. So I did want to share that with the group.
Let me ask you this then, because I've known when other lights are, so that everybody will know. Is it going to start out with a blinking light before you get the light synced up and it really works, or how is it going to progress?
No, thank you, Councilmember. That's a great question. We typically start with the flashing operations before we actually put it into full functioning. So it actually works in the first week as in a flashing operation, and then it goes into the functioning of a true intersection like it should. So thank you. And this is the traffic light that was set to go in at Hamilton Church and Mountain View intersection, as just so everybody's on that page. So we do apologize for the delay. We've been wanting to get this project done for a significant amount of time. But as I had mentioned, some things were a little bit out of our control, but right now we have everything actually ready to go. We have the contractor on notice. And so as soon as we get them in, we are going to get them done, get them up, and get everything functioning and moving forward. So we'll try to work on that real quick. The other thing I want to raise real quick is there was someone had raised a question about inspections. And had mentioned my name. So I just wanted to throw out, we actually handle inspections in the right of way. So if you have someone that is actually doing something in the right of way on the weekend, we do ask that you please report it to Hub Nashville, because they will contact us and we will get folks out. We do have folks that work 7 days a week. So we can get someone out there to check it and verify it. And the best way to go about it is to put it into Hub Nashville. And then it is forwarded onto us and we will get an inspector out there. And if there is something happening in the right of way, whether it's a construction site or someone's neighborhood, whatever it is, again, just put it in Hub Nashville. If it's happening in the evening, we will get that notice and we will make sure we're out there looking and doing an inspection on. So if that happens on a Friday night or a Saturday night, we will get it through Hub Nashville, and we'll have someone out there the next day actually inspecting and taking a look at it. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that a little bit. We do work very much hand in hand with code, but our focus really more is on the right of way, as theirs is more on the private property. So that's really the biggest difference out there. We have some projects that are underway and under construction. There's a new sidewalk that's planned on Hamilton Church from Murfreesboro Pike to about 133 feet off of Hamilton Creek Apartment. The construction is started last September. It's new sidewalk, grass furnishing zone, and we're looking to improve the connectivity. So that's currently under construction. And we're excited about that. We're in planning right now with another new sidewalk, which is at Crossing Boulevard and Old Franklin Road, from Crossing Circle to 2929 Old Franklin Boulevard. Franklin Road. And we are planning, we started in planning this month, so we're moving on that one. The project is meant to fill gaps. So a lot of people go, well, we need sidewalks somewhere else. And yes, we understand that. We need sidewalks in a lot of places. But what we have done is Brad and his team has identified where there's some opportunities to do what we call gap filling. So where you have a sidewalk on one side and a sidewalk on the other side and nothing in between. And that's a gap. And where we already have curb and gutter, we have the ability to come in and put the sidewalk in with the dollars we have available. Our challenge always becomes with sidewalks. If we do not have curb and gutter, we have to add curb and gutter, which requires stormwater build out. And that's we're finding is to be a very costly project. And we have to plan that a little bit better, really engage the conversation with multiple departments, but funding's our biggest challenge. So where we have these gaps, where there's a lack of connectivity and connection. And we have curb and gutter. This is what we call low hanging fruit. We can go in and install the sidewalk. So this installation that I just spoke about, that's in planning, that will move really quick to get it out there and start construction. That is a gap fill in. So that's something that's coming your way. And we are also moving forward with a future project of a bikeway, which will happen on Smith Spring Parkway from Hobson Pike to Mount View Road. So quite a few things happening in District 33. We're got a lot of other projects also going on with bridge and culverts. We actually just completed one that was over on Flagstone. That was a rehabilitation of it that got completed last week. So yay. We also have another one that's currently in evaluation, and we're anticipating we'll actually start remobilization in next month, moving that project forward. And these are bridge and culverts. And of course, we have the Old Hickory Boulevard over Hurricane Creek. We need to do some bridge maintenance on that. We're ready for construction, and we anticipate we'll actually move into construction with that next month. So some things we're doing just from a maintenance perspective, but also their rehabilitation projects. And of course, paving projects we have going on in the district as well. We just completed Old Hickory Boulevard from Murfreesboro to Hobson Pike, Waterford Way from pavement joint, and so around an address of 3785 to the cul-de-sac. That got done and this has all been done in January. So thank goodness the weather's been on our side this year versus last year, where we really found ourselves not being able to do anything. Windsor Green Court from Windsor Green Drive to cul-de-sac got done last week. And then Windsor Green Street from Hillshire Drive to Shaketown Road was completed last week. So the weather's been our friend this winter, that we've been able to keep moving forward with pavement projects, and we're going to continue to do moving forward. So we do have quite a few more that we'll be working on as we move forward to get done and completed, and we're super excited about that. And that can be found on our website under the paving project. And then I think some of the last things real quick is, I just want to remind everybody, we are kicking off our Vision Zero initiative. Unfortunately, last year was one of the highest number of deaths that we had on our roadways, and also it went highest number of lost pedestrian lives. So we're really going to be putting Vision Zero into full gear. We have selected our Vision Zero task force. We're having our first meeting, I think, next month, right, Brad? Next week, excuse me.
End of this month.
End of this month, next week.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really looking forward of taking that to the next level of putting forth and having them help us move the implementation plan forward, really getting out there with some safety practices, getting out there. We have an RFP on the street right now to hire a consulting firm that's got some really strong marketing background as well as some planning background to help us pull together some education materials as well as some encouragement so that we can work on informing the folks about us just making different choices, smarter choices on the road so that everybody can move safely no matter what mode they choose. And we really want people to get home safely from point A to point B, no matter whether they're walking, biking, scooting, or driving, or using transit. We want to make sure people move very safely. And we're going to continue to work very closely with our transit partners and making sure that we're doing those quick build opportunities of connectivity at bus stops so that people can move across the road safely, because we did find that some of the deaths that occurred last year were tied to a bus stop. So we're going to be really focusing on a lot of that. So please look out for each other. Make sure that you're minding the rules of the road. You're moving at the speed limit. You're moving slowly. You're aware of your surroundings so that if you see a pedestrian, bicycle, people are actually moving safely. We want everyone to arrive alive. So thank you, and I appreciate the time. And if there's any questions, I'm here to answer them, and so is Brad.
Diana, I have a question.
Director Diana, I want to put something on your plate for you to look at. I've had actually just a couple of people though, but they have reported that light on Pinhook and Hobson Pike. If you all could look at the timing of that again, because that really backs up traffic.
Hobson
Yes,
Pike
it
and what was it, Councilmember? Hobson Pike and what was
Hobson
it?
and Pinhook.
Yep, I got it. We'll take a
Okay.
look at the timing.
There you go.
Thank you.
You heard it from the right person.
Tawana,
And,
you had your hand up too.
Yes, I did. Thank you. Ms. Alarcon, you mentioned the Old Hickory Boulevard Bridge improvement. And
Uh-huh.
well, the first question is, what's the difference in a creek and a crick? But
Did I say
the
crick?
yeah, the crick has a
The
lot of
difference
trash
between
in it.
a difference between a creek and a crick is my head moves faster than my mouth.
There's a lot of trash in that there creek, and it's coming off of the adjacent property. So maybe that would be something that you can throw in as a codes thing. Got to wave your arms around good to get that motion activated light to stay on.
Yes.
There is an unbelievable amount of trash in that thing, and when they begin that improvement, I'm afraid it's going to loosen up a lot more. So
Okay.
if you could please get them to clean that out ahead of time. Unfortunately, it might be that some of that comes from Rutherford County, so it might be an issue. And then Twin Oaks, I just wanted to mention that one of the places that they've been complaining about down there is some sort of odd combination of church and business. So just a little heads up, that one might be kind of hard to deal with. And then regarding the weekend codes violations, you mentioned that it was right-of-way things in particular that you could respond to, but most of what we experience is roofing and those kinds of things that I'm guessing are not call out worthy. It truly appears to be subcontractors who are working too many jobs, and they come in and work on their weekends because they couldn't get things finished up. And so I would ask that maybe you send something out to people getting permits for projects. You know, we've got a lot of developments yet to come, and one of the things we're asking them to do is to post signage at the entrances in 3 languages that explain that work is prohibited between, what is it now, 8 p.m. Saturday and 8 a.m. Monday, or whatever the time is now. So maybe if something like that could be adopted from the agency standpoint, that would be helpful to eliminate some of these complaints. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll actually, I think Monica, you caught that, because that's actually will come from our partners over at Code, but I'll actually make a note of that. And when we do what we have a monthly meeting with all of us together, I'll raise that. I'll make sure staff raises that as well.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. So any construction site noise after certain hours within certain, there's certain restrictions. Metro Codes, the building division would enforce that. So if you give specific addresses, and even if you pass them to me, I'll get them to the right person.
Right.
So Metro Codes, if you have a permit and you're actively working, part of the permit parameters are the hours of operations when you can be working. So that they do get information like that. We're aware that a lot of people just kind of ignore that. Do be aware that if you are a personal homeowner working on your property, there is no restrictions on that. So like sometimes if if your neighbor is just, I don't know, laying new floors or sanding cabinets and they live in the house, that kind of noise is not restricted. But if it's contractors doing it and you feel like it's after hours, just reach out. That's Metro Codes, the building division handles that and investigates that.
Thank you. Real quick.
Council Lady Lee, just a quick note that we have in this community, Southeast Nashville, been experiencing some very positive changes with NDOT, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say that we appreciate their discussion of things like roundabouts integrated into our community, traffic calming by design, which is something that we have been promoting for years, but now we believe we've got the support of NDOT, and we just thank you for opening up the breadth of options to make our community safer. Thank you all.
You're very welcome.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember, if I can, there was a couple of questions in the chat that I just want to highlight, and then I will shut up and let us move on from that because I know we want to get done. But someone had asked about having a problem with ice at Hamilton Church Pike, close to Mount View. I'll send that to the team, but just for the record for everyone here, when we actually do go in and have to deploy the salt trucks or plowing, we hit the primary routes first, which are our main pikes and artery and that, and then the secondary routes, which is your collector streets. So we typically do not make it up into like neighborhood streets, but I did send that request over to staff to ask them to go ahead and take a look at it while we're in a lull. Love this weather, hope it stays. But we'll take a look at that. So I wanted to throw that out. And then the other thing in the chat, Brad put the neighborhood tracker in there so you can look where everything's going on. But then there was the other question about trash along the interstate and leaving bags there, and it seems to take long to pick them up. If y'all could just, if you leave trash bags there, if you put it in Hub Nashville and you just kind of give us an address where it is, it'll get sent to us. And as we're moving around in the city or the county, we can actually get out there and pick them out and help the state up. So please feel free to enter those into Hub Nashville so that we can actually assign staff when we're out in that area and they'll swing by and pick up the trash bags, because we want everybody to look good, and that includes our partners at the state. So I just wanted to throw that out as well. So thank you for the opportunity, and if there's any other questions, we're here to help.
Yes, can I ask one quick question, please?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I had a question regarding the traffic light at Hamilton Church. And so
Yes, sir.
I know you guys came on last year and kind of gave us an overall timeline, and the neighborhood improvement tracker should be giving us that information. But my question is, you guys stated there was a holdup on the part for the light. Did that impact the other regions of Davidson County, or was that just particular to this light out here? And then the next thing is, I was actually looking at the development tracker, and I think Larry Price also had the same question. You guys have an estimated completion date on here as 7/1/2022. And I know you guys are adding turning lanes. So we're trying to understand, number one, the timeline that you provided for the overall completion, which is in a few weeks, that will take place. And then when can we expect the turning lanes be installed after that is completed?
Those are great questions. I'll address the second one first. So turn lanes are expected to be constructed by summer of this year. That's actually going to be starting as well. So turn lanes are going to be added this summer at the Hamilton Church in the Mountain View intersection. And your other question, can you repeat your other question, Derek?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be this, but it was regarding just the overall
the timeline
of the light. Yeah, I mean, I actually grew up in Nashville, and I actually saw a traffic light go up, two of them go up within a month. That was the poles installed as well as fully operational. So I'm just trying to understand, is there a particular issue with the one out here compared to other lights that are being installed throughout Davidson County?
No, the supply chain issues that we're having are across the board. It's not just, it's all through Davidson County and the state of Tennessee and the country. We're having the same issues as far as getting some of the technology and the parts in here. So that's across the board. We're also having the same issue with traffic signal controllers too, trying to keep those in stock and in our inventory. So we're having that across the board. It's not specific to this location. That's a great question.
Thank you, Mr. Bratt.
So I have a question. You all were just talking about the ice and the salt. We have a real big problem over here at Smith Springs Road. Now they'll ice the whole road all the way to Anderson Road. Once they get to Anderson Road, they don't come back here where Smith Springs Elementary School and rest of that. And we stuck back here. We can't go anywhere because it's just a whole sheet of ice. And we ask, and I call Miss Lee all the time about, is someone going to come out here and ice this street? Can you tell me, is that not a important street, or what's going on?
Well, we consider every street to be important, but we do focus when we are actually salting and plowing. We focus on the primary routes, which are your pikes and your main artery streets that move the majority of the traffic. And then we focus in on secondary routes, which is mainly your local collector streets. We really do not have an opportunity to get into more of your local streets within your community and within the neighborhoods, simply because we do not have enough equipment, labor, and people to do it. But tell me again, that was Smith, what again? I caught some of it, but not all of it.
That's Smith Springs Road. And so we have Smith Springs Elementary School there. And when school is back in and that ice is still there, it's really dangerous. But they'll stop. They'll do all of Smith Springs, but they'll stop right there at Anderson Road and won't come on back.
Yeah,
And
because Anderson is actually considered a local road and not a collector road. And like I said, that we focus mainly on the primary and then the secondary. But I'll talk to staff and I'll add them that information to it so they're aware of it. But mainly we only have a limited amount of resources, and that's in equipment as well as product and also in labor. But I'll let staff know what you shared with me tonight.
okay, if we can find out where we can get salt at, we can do it out here ourselves, because everybody says the same thing, that we can help.
I will let them know. Thank you.
It's near school. That's really important.
Ms. Alarcon, may I follow up on her question with something similar?
Sure.
Is the map of the priority streets that's on your website accurate? Do you know? There's a website map that shows which streets are going to be done first, which are going to be done second, and I think there's a third layer on there.
Yes. So that map is up to date.
We noticed when we had that most recent ice event that there's a section over in the Green Hills area where there's about 6 dead-end streets that are all colored to be a first layer of priority. And, we were looking at whether there's actually routes out here in Cane Ridge and Antioch that can help folks get out of the area. And it was just this really stark contrast between what's getting done out here and what's getting done on some dead-end residential streets with no schools over there in Green Hills. So I would ask that if that is in fact accurate, that please be reviewed, because if we have limited resources, then we certainly need to make it more equitable and serve more people, not just a few people on dead-end roads. Then my second question I wanted to ask, you spoke at the recent council meeting, I believe that was you, about the parking meters downtown and how that changing them over is going to garner, I think it was $200,000 a year that could go to fund other projects. What I didn't hear addressed is what is going to be the actual cost to replace those meters. And then I wanted to point out that earlier this week, I went down and visited some state representatives, and some of the meters in front of the Cordell Hull building there aren't working. People were putting money in and not able to park, and there is no mechanism for us as citizens being able to take advantage of street parking like that and go in and be engaged citizens. So I would ask that as part of this changeover, that sort of thing get reviewed. It also kind of struck me that that's a very economically unfair way to do things, because there are a lot of people that only have some change. They don't have a credit card to be able to feed a meter and potentially rack up a $25 charge to do anything downtown. There's a lot of services that you have to go downtown to use, you know, whether it's the registrar of deeds, our elected officials at the state. Maybe you need to go, the library has parking, so that I guess is not a good example, but I understand making, you know, trying to get more money, but what keeps happening with parking in Nashville is that nothing is set aside for people who need to go to court as victims. Nothing is set aside for people trying to just live as citizens in the county. These parking garages and the on-street parking and the paved parking lots that we sold for really ridiculous low prices years ago are making parking corporations bukus of money, and yet the citizens can't go see somebody in the courthouse for a little bit. So
Lost my light again.
if you want to address some of that, that would be great. And
Yeah, hold on, let me get my
Ruth.
light on and I'll be glad to. Sorry. My light keeps, I got one of those timing sensors, so it keeps going off. So sorry about that. So thank you. That I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you. So the new meters that'll be going in will still take coins. So people will still have the option to pay by coins. They will not have to just rely on their phone or credit card. So we did make sure we left a cash option in place for all the new. Now, what is going to be different is that instead of every spot having a single space meter, you'll have a kiosk that you'll go to, you'll put in your license plate number, and then you're good to go. And that's going to allow you to then move forward. If you do decide to pay by credit card or through a text option or through the app that'll be available, and you're there for a few hours and you get stuck, you can get a notice to extend your hours and you can extend it and not be worried about a ticket. So we are adding some additional customer technology that's a little bit more customer friendly, but again, a cash option is always going to be available for everyone downtown. So I'll look into your concern at Cordell Hall about the meters not working. I do apologize for that because there's really no good reason every meter should be functioning and working, so I'll send someone out there. But what's great about these new meters that we're going to be getting is if something does go down, it'll actually send a notice to us, so we will know right away that the meter's not functioning. As right now, we don't have any way of communicating with the meters unless someone is physically out there and sees it or reports it into Hub Nashville. So it's kind of a hit and miss. So we are going to have the ability to be more, I want to say, proactive than reactive, which is what we are right now with the parking technology. So we are looking to purchase roughly around 150 new kiosk meters. Each one is roughly around $6,500. Just to kind of put the math out there. And then staff is actually going to be installing them. So we are looking to save us a little bit of money by doing our own installation versus depending on someone else to do it for us. We do anticipate for all of the smart technology improvements we're doing, we're going to spend roughly around $1 million. We have that $1 million already built up in the parking fund. So we're not going to be asking council members other than, yes, council member, I'll have before you as part of the budgetary request next month at the February 7th meeting, a request to be able to spend and allocate those dollars so that we can make those purchases. But we do feel like we'll be able to offer a better service with the new meters. It'll offer multiple services, but it'll still offer cash. So the revenues that we do collect through the meters actually will allow us to take and put those dollars and earmark them toward future traffic and transportation and parking initiatives. So where we're trying to get more street lights in place, so we're on real-time technology, we would have that ability to do some of those improvements. On the equity front, we are trying to make sure, and I think this is a great conversation. One of the things as we're moving through this new smart parking program is we are looking at where there is some disadvantage and how we can better serve the community as a whole. If someone is coming down for the courts right now, you know, and it's tied with the courthouse, you can park in the garage there. We want to make it available. I'd love to get all the spaces back, all the parking lots and everything that we gave away. I'd love to get them back. I do feel like we could use some more public parking. And when I say public parking, I mean government public parking, because typically we are below market rate. And what you're seeing downtown now is market rate. We do not have any plans at this time to do any adjustments on the current meters. So whatever rates that is out there, we plan on keeping them there so they are affordable. We will be enforcing the time limit so that we have the turns available, which is something we really haven't done well in the past. So I think overall, as we move through the program and we start implementing things that should have already been done, we'll start have more meters, more on-street parking available, so it's more accessible for the community at a reasonable rate, and not at what you're finding at a private entity. So we are trying to be more conscientious and then also find that balance. And it's a bit of a challenge right now because you're absolutely correct. The private market rate in downtown is off the chart.
And in front of the Cordell Hall, and we'll say this and I'll shut up, it's the municipal auditorium side, and it's the second space from the intersection that took the lady's money. It was the lady parked in front of me. And then right in front of, between Cordell Hall and municipal, on the municipal side, the entire row of parking meters said no parking 9 a.m. until I think 8 p.m. And then there was a contradictory parking aluminum sign above all of these that reflected an opposite set of hours. And so I just didn't park there because I didn't want to be towed, even though all of those spaces were available. So if somebody can look at that whole row and make sure they compare it to the aluminum parking direction signs above it. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. And our time is really spending down, and we have somebody else, but I do want to, I saw a question from a Miss Chopton, and we have not heard from her at all. Miss Chopton, did you have something really quick you wanted to ask?
No, she already answered my question, Councilmember.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so very much. Okay, so Mr. Walker, this is what happens when you're the last one, I guess. I'm sorry. We're going to try to get people on here on time so we can get started right at 6 next time. And maybe I won't talk so much so we won't have so much time over. But now it's your show. We go where we go.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, Councilmember Lee, and I appreciate y'all's time this evening. I know Councilmember Lee mentioned at the top that this may be the first time that we hopped on one of these, or maybe been a while. So just want to give a brief high-level overview of kind of what we've been up to in the last few years. Kind of coming into the pandemic, like a lot of industries and things, we strive to take care of our own and make sure that those essential trips that were utilized by our customers were remained available and connected, but at the same time, we wanted to make sure that our employees were safe and cared for. And so from that, kind of going into there was sort of a reduction of service, particularly based around the downtown commute. There's a lot of downtown commuting services that we removed at that time because that market was not there, so we could focus on, we didn't have overcrowding on buses and neighborhood routes or things, folks that are going to service jobs and those essential services. And kind of coming out of those initial cuts, we've found that our services become a little bit redesigned in what's on the road now versus what it was if you were to look, say, 3 years ago at our service map. I could happily say that we have more service hours on the road, and we have better coverage across the county as far as services options to folks in Davidson County than we did pre-pandemic. We're at about 107% of our service hours that we had then. But what that looks like is a little different. A lot of our service is focused on the pikes right now and connections to and from those pikes. We have right near the district, in District 32, our Murfreesboro Pike route is our most productive route within the network. Before the pandemic, we were running probably 15-minute to 20-minute frequencies throughout the day and weekends on that corridor. Right now, we can't put enough buses on the Murfreesboro Pike route. We're at 10-minute headways, and we're doing things like stationing buses midway on the corridor to kind of cut those headways in half during commuting hours, particularly during school hours, because we do have a lot of school children that ride during those peak hours as well. So we have a lot more frequent service on our pipes. So if you're on a main corridor in Nashville, you'll notice that service comes more frequently. It also runs longer. We run service now out of downtown on our major routes until midnight. And that wasn't the case. We were at an 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. lineup just a couple years ago. We've also increased several frequencies on our local routes throughout the county. But something that's really important to y'all in District 33 is we've incorporated and started a new program. It's a mobility on demand program that we're calling WeGo Link. And WeGo Link zones are the way for areas of Davidson County that tend to be more suburban or a little more spread out, that aren't necessarily conducive to fixed route transit running all day, every day. But to have that on-demand trip that connects for that first mile, last mile, couple mile trip to our frequent transit network that is nearby. So we actually started in Antioch with this as a pilot in 2020. And our partner that we're utilizing the program with, it's actually open architecture, so it can be utilized through other firms. But the organization that we have a partnership with is Uber at this point right now. We also have a paratransit provider for mobility on demand for those services as well. But essentially, our partnership with Uber for WeGo Link zones is that if you're in the zone and you live within the zone and in District 33, about basically everywhere north of Hobson Pike is within a WeGo Link zone, and then parts of Cane Ridge also are within a WeGo Link zone. If you're in the zone, you can go to a couple dedicated stops, start or end your trip at a couple dedicated stops within that zone. And those will connect you, in the case of the Antioch zone, will connect you to our Route 55 Murfreesboro Pike service, which I just said is a really frequent route. So if you're planning a trip downtown, you can download, you can utilize WeGo Link through the Uber platform. So to do that, there's a voucher that you download from our website, and it'll pop up in your Uber app when you sign in your first time, and then it'll show up continually once it's connected to your account. And if your location is within that zone, you can then catch the bus to, for instance, Bell Road and Murfreesboro Pike for a trip inbound to Nashville. And the cost to you for that Uber trip generally is going to be $2. So that's a $2 trip that connects into our bus service. We have about an $8 stipend on all trips that we pay Uber to provide, and so the zones are roughly drawn by how that that price would be allocated based on the trip distance to that location. And so that's how we can connect other parts of the county. We've expanded that service to that zone, like I said, in Antioch. We have a South Nashville zone, we have a Goodlettsville zone, and we have a Hermitage zone. And with our service changes right now, if you go to our website, there's a proposed set of service changes. Most of them are small tweaks to scheduling adjustments to the area, but we're also looking at reconfiguring a couple routes for routing changes, adding frequency to our airport service, and also extending service on a couple of our crosstowns. But in addition to that, we're looking to add 3 new WeGo Link zones in the Bellevue area, in the Sylvan Park area that's split by our service on Charlotte Pike and on West End, and then also in the Cockrell Bend area. So more areas that are further, off of our core network that provide that connection within our WeGo network. I know we're short on time, so I could stop there and take questions. But I would direct you to our website, wegotransit.com. If you hit the ride tab, the drop down for WeGo Link is right there, and there's a set of FAQs that walks you through. You can download that voucher for WeGo Link. And then once it's in your Uber app, it's there, and it'll geocode based on your location, for your availability as well.
Will we get the chat mailed back out to us that'll have all these links? Council Lady Lee, will we?
Sorry, say that again, Tawana.
Are y'all going to email back out the chat so we can get these links?
I don't know if we usually email the chat. Roseanne, are you on? Is that something, we don't email out the chat. Is that something we can do? I know it's available for you all to go back and go in and see it.
We are able to get the transcript and I can email that out.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Okay, any more questions? Trey, seems like I remember something in the council meeting. Was it a survey or something that you all were talking about making sure to get out to people? Does that sound
Currently,
familiar? That's why I asked you to come on specifically.
yeah, right now we have our biannual service changes that are out for public comment. So on our website right now, that set of service changes right on the home page. I've got it pulled up right now. So we do service changes twice a year in April and October typically. And right now we released earlier this week for public notice and public comment through February 7th related to the service change, but then also anything we go related we're accepting comment on. And I can drop that service changes link in the chat as well. But those include those three new WeGo link zones that improve frequency on our airport service, extended span on our Route 77 crosstown service, and then there's some schedule adjustments, mostly to our main corridor services, and that does include the Route 55 where we're essentially adding buses. To one, congestion's picking up a little bit, and things are going and activities slowing down, travel speeds are slowing down. So to combat that, our easiest tool at hand is adding buses to corridors to maintain that frequency. And so we're doing that on several corridors, and that's part of this round of service changes.
Great. Thank you so very much. If you'll go ahead before we close and drop that in the chat so that they will have that, appreciate it. I appreciate everybody being on here. Thank you so very much. And we might, like John had requested, if he sends me that request, if you all have a request of a certain department that you want to talk to a little more and have a little more in-depth conversation, then we can schedule those as well. Hope you enjoyed the weather the past couple of days. It's my understanding the end of the weekend is supposed to get cold again. I don't know how cold it's supposed to be, but please remember to get your things in order, whether it's leaving things dripping or wrapping things or lights or whatever, so that you will be safe if we get another craziness like we did around Christmas. I hope you all are all having a great year so far, and that prosperity will follow you on through this year. And again, thank you all so very much for coming and giving up part of your dinner to be with us. I really appreciate it. Everybody have a good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you, Councilmember Lee.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye, y'all.